Welcome back to the National Intel Report. Again, this is Paul Drockton filling in for John Stettmuller today, and we've got Mr. Gerald Celente with us, publisher of the TrendsJournal magazine. Gerald, you with us?
I'm with you, Paul.
Hey, it's always a pleasure. You know that?
Oh, thanks for having me on. It's always great being on with you. What a pleasant surprise. Of course, I like being on with John as well.
Well, Gerald, I wanted to start out a little bit different today. I want to make sure everybody that listens to this program knows who you are. Can you just kind of give us like a brief bio?
Okay, I guess I got into trend forecast. Well, I began my career as I used to run political campaigns in Westchester County in New York, which is the most affluent county in the United States. And then I was so good at it, they sent me up to Albany, which is the state capital. And I became the assistant to the secretary of the New York State Senate. His name was Al Abrams at the time. And there's the guy that runs the whole show. Mm-hmm. And from there, I also I designed and taught American politics and campaign technology at St. John's University in New York. From there, I went to Chicago, and in those days, a lot of trade associations were in Chicago, and I represented a sector of the chemical industry for many years between there and D.C., and so I know what the other side looks like. It was around in the late 70s when the Iranian crisis was breaking out. I was in D.C. I mean, I had been following, what was going on in Iran for years, about the Shah and how the democratically elected government of Mossadegh was overthrown in 1953 by the CIA and MI6. And the reason, of course, was that Mossadegh, who was a university professor, he had the nerve to nationalize the Iranian oil fields and throw out at one end Standard Oil, which is now, of course, ExxonMobil, and the other one was Anglo-Iranian, which is better known to all those people down there in the Gulf Coast as BP. So they wouldn't have any of that, so they overthrew the government, slaughtered, I don't know how many people when they put in the Shah, who was living at the time in southern France. He became this brutal dictator that people forgot. And but of course he was the American puppet, so they loved him. Mm-hmm. And so when the revolution...
I apologize. And he was brought in basically to get rid of the political dissent that was challenging these multinationals, wasn't he?
Oh, exactly. I mean, because they loved Mossadegh. The Iranian people loved him. And they was very successful. But they wanted their oil. So what happened was, when the Iranian crisis started breaking out in the late 70s, and when this is the day I became a political atheist, is when Jimmy Carter came. Everybody loves Jimmy Carter, that wonderful peanut farmer, the nice guy, the guy that created the Mujahideen. Yeah, Al-Qaeda today, the Taliban, that everybody loves. Yeah, that whole sect. The guy that supplied them with the missiles to shoot down the Russian aircraft when as a proxy war against the Russians in Afghanistan. Yeah, that's Jimmy Carter. He comes back from spending New Year's Eve with the Shah and his wife, and he and Rosalind. And in those days, it was a big deal when the president came back from an overseas trip. It's kind of like if George Bush had gone on an overseas trip before he was president. But anyway, they used to have, the helicopter behind them, walking up to the microphones, and I'll never forget this, Paul. Jimmy Carter announces that the Shah is the island of stability in the Middle East. And I said to myself, I can't use the language on this broadcast. And then I started, and that's when I became a political atheist. I'd been around long enough, I'd been around. I spent over an hour with Reagan. Me and photos of him. I hired him to do a gig when I was with the chemical industry. When he was 2 days before he was going to announce that he was running for president against Jerry Ford. I'd been around. I knew what it looked like. And I had enough. I knew Carter was lying. and I knew that the Shah was going to be overthrown. So then I said to myself, what will be the implications? Gold prices are already going up. I didn't know what I was a young guy, my early 30s, I'm 32 years old. And I said to myself, gold and oil prices are going to go up. How could I make money on that?
Mm-hmm.
And I started speculating. This was brand new in the time. I'm going back, 1978, 79. And there wasn't a big deal then. I mean, there was no globalization then. The Hunt brothers were controlling the silver market, just how narrowly traded it was. So I started speculating in gold and silver. And I made enough money to leave my job. And because I had it by then, I didn't want to work. I didn't like what I was doing anymore. I was killing environmental legislation, basically. And very successful at it to boot. And so anyway, I was a young guy, I was growing up and not knowing what my bearings were. And so anyway, I realized that as America was waving flags and chanting for the Shah, I realized that if you look at things for what they are, not the way you want them to be, you can see how the trends are going to develop. So it's like going to a doctor. You just go there for a diagnosis. So I detached myself from the nationalism, the patriotism, or the belief system. And I just started looking for trends and events for what they were. And I started to see that all things are connected. So I began my business back in those days in 1980 as the Socioeconomic Research Institute of America. Because in those days, if you said that you track trends, people say, oh, you look at fashion trends, music trends. The future was off base. I mean, those of us that are old enough to remember that, the in the corporate world is welcome aboard, don't rock the boat. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Mm-hmm. America was at the top, and it wasn't going to go anywhere but up was the impression. So that's how I began my career. And then I started, the more years I've done it, the better I got at it. Like any trade, like any skill, a musician, an artist, whatever. And you start developing it to become, more and more as a profession. And so my first big forecast was in 1987, Wall Street Journal. I sent out in those days, before the computer days, I sent out press releases. I used to, lick them in the envelopes and put them in, And I sent one to in January of 1987. I said this was the year it all would collapse, and I predicted the stock market collapse, and it did collapsed in '87, and that's what put me on the map. And then it was one trend forecast after another. Gourmet coffees. I coined the term clean food in 1993. Water. I was writing about water, and I wrote the books, Trend Tracking in 1988. And a great story with that one. I predicted a new third party, and for some reason, in 1988, I mentioned Ross Perot. And of course, he became, really the only third party candidate that had a shot at anything. And I have a great story. I met John Connolly. For those who remember John Connolly, he was the governor of Texas that was sitting in front of JFK when he took the bullet in the back. I have a photo in my office with me and John Connolly and his wife Nellie with the book depository over our shoulder. And it was their first time back. This is 2 weeks before the 92 election. It was their first time back since the assassination. And he wanted to meet me because of what I wrote in Trend Tracking. Trend Tracking was, it was quite successful book. It began as a Wiley book, and then Warner Books bought it, and they went in the paperback, and was reviewed by Time Magazine, many others, far better than Megatrends. And anyway, a quick story. Connolly told what happened that day. And there's myself, a guy named Pat Cadell that was a pollster at the time. He was very famous for being a pollster under Carter, actually. He was doing work for Perot and two other people. And Connolly and his wife Nellie. And he began the conversation, Connolly. Remember, this is their first time back. and we're in a limousine parked in front of the book depository. With the photo that you see where the window is, that's the side of the book depository.
Wow.
And he began the conversation by saying, I heard a gunshot. And I looked over to my right, which was, of course, the grassy knoll. As they were coming around, he pointed to Daly Plaza behind us. And he said, I knew it was a gunshot because I was hunting since I'm a little boy. And he said, I was wearing a dark blue suit that day, and he showed how we were scrunched up in the jump seat. They used to have the jump seats in those old cars, not like today, the limos. And I was holding a Stetson hat in my hand, and I was wearing a dark blue suit. And I looked over to my left, and there were brains on my shoulder. He said, I know there were brains because my daddy was a butcher. And the story went on from there. So I've been through my life, my career, I've met many different people at many different levels.
Gerald, was he basically saying the shot came from the left then?
Well, no, all he said was that he saw brains on my shoulder. He said when I turned to my left, because Kennedy, just got his brains blown. So, but what happened was we're going back into the Anatole Hotel, and I'll tell you after we come back from the break.
Sounds good. And I'm just going to let you talk, my friend, because obviously fascinating gentleman and fascinating history. And I'm familiar with it, but I don't think many of you are, and I think it's a good time to review it again. We'll be right back with Gerald Celente.
Ground beef, eggs, butter, cheese, soup, sandwiches, strawberries, ice cream, coffee, and more. What do these foods have in common? They all come in storable, long shelf life food for you to save and use in uncertain times. Rather, if it is a meal or a snack, for a family or just yourself, CampingSurvival.com offers a huge variety of storable food for you to be prepared anytime. Go to CampingSurvival.com to order all your food. Eat today, save it for tomorrow, or store it for years to come. CampingSurvival.com sells healthy, nutritious, storable food in number 10 cans and pouches. Order online today at CampingSurvival.com. Use code FREEDOM and receive 5% off. CampingSurvival.com. Remember, save 5% off with code FREEDOM at CampingSurvival.com on all your prepared food needs.
Having problems with your mortgage? Have you heard of all the mortgage fraud? Could you be a victim? WhatLiesInYourDebt.com can help you turn harassing phone calls and letters into cold, hard cash. Discover how people just like you are making thousands of dollars holding debt collectors accountable for their misdeeds. Don't wait. Empower yourself today. Go to WhatLiesInYourDebt.com. We promise it pays to know. That's WhatLiesInYourDebt.com to find your solution. Having problems with your mortgage? Have you heard of all the mortgage fraud? Could you be a victim? WhatLiesInYourDebt.com can help you turn harassing phone calls and letters into cold, hard cash. Discover how people just like you are making thousands of dollars holding debt collectors accountable for their misdeeds. Don't wait. Empower yourself today. Go to WhatLiesInYourDebt.com. We promise it pays to know. That's WhatLiesInYourDebt.com to find your solution.
Now more than ever, killing many viruses and bacteria in our homes and at work is important. With the flu epidemic running rampant, you need to protect yourself and your family the best you can with purified air. Our air purifiers not only kill many viruses and bacteria in the air, but on surfaces too. Our air purifiers will also kill molds, fungi, mildew, oxidizes chemical fumes and toxic gases, removes dust, pollen, pet odors, and smoke. We have portable units, HVAC and industrial size units. In our homes today, protect your family the best you can by calling 1-877-605-9200 or go to our online store at republicbroadcasting.org. Call today to receive your 10% off and free shipping on any home unit. 1-877-605-9200.
Soon you will be dancing face to face with the limits of ambition and the scars of the marketplace.
Welcome back
Welcome to the land of flame.
to the National Intel Report again. Paul Drockton sitting in for John Stadtmuller today, and we're with our honored guest, Gerald Celente. and he's given us a little bit of his personal history, which obviously I know you are finding fascinating as well. And Gerald, go ahead and just continue.
So we're going back into the Anatole Hotel, and the other people who were in front of us, and we stopped, and he looks at me and he said, I read your book. He said, it's a fine piece of work, and I know your heart's in the right place. He said, but you don't have a clue what's going on. And neither do the American people. Because if they did, there'd be a revolution in this country.
Wow.
And then we went back up to his suite, a bunch of people up there, and a couple of drinks, and chatted. And I left. And we stayed in contact, actually. As we were sitting across from each other, there was this other guy who was there. His name was John J. Hooker. John J. Hooker, he started Minnie Pearl's Chicken, and he almost became governor of Tennessee down in Nashville. And he had put the meeting together, and Hooker and I were friendly. And because he had found my book, Trend Tracking, and he contacted me, so we were in contact long before this. And I said to Hooker, I said, Connolly's going to die. He said, what do you mean, my boy? He's talking like that, a big accent. I said, I've seen this before. I said, my dear father, I said, may his soul rest in peace. I said, I was sitting across from Connolly, and his lung was, he was shot through the back and went through his lung. And he was on heavy doses of prednisone. The condition was he was failing again with his lung. And they had him on prednisone in attempting to, remedy or alleviate the pain of whatever was going on. But I saw him. He was all hunched over. My father was a tall guy, and my father died of asbestos poisoning from working in the shipyards during World War II. And I saw the same thing. It was the same thing. Anyway, he got these big purple splotches on his hands. And if anybody remembers John Connolly, when he was a young man, he was this tall, strapping guy. And here he was all gray and hunched over. And I saw this movie play out before. The adhesions, that's right, he had adhesions from the operation. And so he did. He died in April of 93, and we stayed in contact probably up until February or so. And anyway, so I've been around, and been with princes of countries, and so I look at things for the way they are, and I don't get I get angry at what's going on, but I don't get emotional at it. I get angry because of the way we're getting raped in so many different ways. So, for example, as we talk about this NSA scandal, I mean, you see the Trends journals. Go back to hour one from the spring of 2011. We wrote all about it. Big Bro, without public really noticing or caring enough to notice. Obama's 2012 had become Orwell's 1984. Big Brother had arrogated to himself full power to do as he pleased. So what? What was the big deal? Does anyone really care? Why should anybody have to know about the NDAA and the NDRP executive order? And we go on. They're raping us of all our rights. The U.S. eases rules on use of data on Americans. We saw this coming a long time ago. So here's my take on the whole NDAA thing. Read the data. Read the facts. Know people should know what they're talking about before they talk about it. And here's the facts. Booz Allen is one of the big military contractors that's very high in putting this whole thing together. The guy that's the head of Booz Allen, his name is Mike McConnell. Mike McConnell was the former national security advisor under Bill Slick Willie Clinton from 1992 to 1996. This isn't about national security. There are an estimated 850,000 private contractors doing national security work. The budget is estimated, according to the Financial Times, to be $80 billion being spent on this. This is all about money. It's nothing else. It's the military-industrial complex. It's only about money. It's not about raping us of our rights. They've been raped a long time ago. Hey, did you see the wonderful new Supreme Court ruling?
Yeah, I did.
Can't take the fifth anymore.
I mean, the right to not be involved in self-incrimination has now been revoked by the Supreme Court.
Yeah. So when you again, if you read our work, you could subscribe to the Trends Journal, you would know we've said this a long time ago. That this is not people say, oh, Obama's a communist, a Marxist. No, he's not. He's carrying on the policies of Bush, who under Bush, with Henry Frankenstein Paulson, the former CEO of the Goldman Sachs gang, and U.S. Treasury Secretary, what did he do? He saved the too big to fails. You remember that.
Mm-hmm.
In capitalism, there is no too big to fails. Too big to fails is the merger of state and corporate powers. As I said, the NSA thing is only a corporate move. It's Booz Allen and the other military-industrial complex.
Sure, go ahead and hold these thoughts, my friend. And when we come back, we'll continue. We'll be right back.
While you were sleeping, they came and took it all away.
You're listening to the Republic Broadcasting Network, because you can handle the truth.
Warning for all Gulf Coast disaster survivors. Be aware that dangerous gases are in the air you breathe. Benzene, hydrogen sulfide, methylene chloride, and Corexit 9500. Keep your body clean with microplant powder. For all Gulf Coast residents and all who want to be healthy, hempusa.org brings you a new formulation of microplant powder with lactobacillus acidophilus, rebuilding your immune system while detoxing the rest of your body, pulling out positive toxins, heavy metals, viruses, fungus, bacteria, and parasites. Cleans and purifies the blood, lungs, stomach, and colon. Microplant powder will help eliminate these dangerous chemicals from the body used in the Gulf cleanup. At hempusa.org, we want you to try our #1 selling detox product, Microplant Powder. Call and order at 1-908-691-2608, 1-908-691-2608, or visit us at hempusa.org today.
In an emergency situation, would you drink contaminated water? You could if you had the amazing LifeStraw from MyPatriotSupply.com. LifeStraw is the most advanced personal water filter available today. It filters contaminated water from almost any source. LifeStraw is lightweight and compact, perfect for hiking, camping, or in an emergency like a flood. LifeStraw is easy to clean, comes with a 1-year warranty, and has been used worldwide since 2005. Get the amazing LifeStraw personal water filter at MyPatriotSupply.com. Plus, check out Survival Seed Vault, 20 seed varieties for only $37.95, Tatler canning lids, long-term storable foods as low as $69.95, and much more at MyPatriotSupply.com. Enjoy stress-free shipping on all orders over $49. Call 866-229-0927 or visit MyPatriotSupply.com. That's 866-229-0927. MyPatriotSupply.com for emergency preparedness, self-reliance, and food independence.
With financial uncertainty circling the globe due to job losses, decline in the housing market, a climate of corruption, bailouts, currency rigging, and unfair competition, many are once more turning to precious metals as the only hedge against the uncertainty of the future. With the U.S. House conducting hearings on proposals to confiscate workers' personal retirement accounts, including 401ks and IRAs, this is the time to secure your assets. Call Republic Trading Group today, 800-691-7898 before this happens, and find out how easy it is to convert your existing IRA and in some instances your 401k plan into real wealth now. Don't let the ravages of hyperinflation caused by the massive increase of fiat currency now flooding world markets affect your retirement account. Call RTG at 800-691-7898 and experience the security and peace of mind that only real gold and silver can offer. That number again is 800-691-7898. Call now.
You're tuned in to the National Intel Report, the Real Talk Radio Show.
Welcome back. to the National Intel Report. Paul Drockton sitting in for John Stadtmiller, and we're talking with Gerald Celente. So, Gerald, here's a thought here, and I wanted to ask you about this. I mean, obviously, you're a big picture kind of guy. Well, let's take a look at what's going on with the IRS. Let's take a look at what's going on with the NSA, and let's talk about the future of not just political dissent here, but corporate dissent. See, I think in order for capitalism to function properly, in order for there to be, new ideas coming forward, we've got to permit dissent, not just politically, but we've got to permit it as well when it comes to new ideas.
Well, again, that's what I'm saying, Paul, is that this is not capitalism. It's fascism. And they're acting. That's why we have no rights. That's why it's being taken away from us. It's a corporate takeover. How much more proof do people need? Hey, this is a wonderful time. I've heard all these wonderful commencement speeches with these kids graduating college. Okay, where are they going to work? They're not going to be able to start their own business because, hey, the Walmarts of the world, the Targets, the Macy's, the CVS's, the Home Depots, the Lowe's. There's no more hardware stores, stationery stores, local pharmacies. There's no local dress shops like there used to be and haberdashers. Oh, haberdashers for all you young people out there. That's where men used to buy their clothes. I was looking in today's Wall Street Journal. They had a 1952 photo of a Yankees-Dodgers game at Yankee Stadium. And remember, I'm a guy that grew up in the Bronx, And, first games I was going to were like 1954, Phil Rizzuto and that whole crew, Yogi Berra, the greats of the time. But anyway, you look at this photo, and it's a photo of the bleachers. And, Yankee Stadium was cavernous, the bleachers were way the hell out there. Everybody you look at this photo, everybody had a shirt and tie on, and most guys are wearing a hat. And you look what this country has become. As we would say in Italian, a bunch of caffons, the way the people dress, the way they present themselves, the way they look. So the entire country is going down. I've come up with a new name. This is not America. It's Slavelandia. You can get a job stocking shelves. You can get a job as a cashier. I had to go to Home Depot to pick up some stuff that they didn't have in the local hardware store. I do buy a lot of stuff as we're repairing a couple of buildings over here, and I had to run out and get some stuff. And I thought to myself, what a dreadful job these people have. What a dreadful job. Could you imagine saying, have a nice day and bringing somebody out of the cash register and helping them put crap in their bag? I mean, this is what this country's become. Bill Clinton turned it into a service sector society when they promoted NAFTA. And when you think of the word service sector, you have servitude, servant, and this is what it's become, Slavelandia. So no, it's not capitalism anymore. Everything has been tilted in favor of the bigs. The bigs are running they're running the intelligence services. They're the military contractors. They're the too big to fail banks. They're the Walmarts, Staples. I remember O'Reilly's stationery store used to be down the corner over here. They're gone long ago. There are no. So, unless the only way it's going to change. And by the way, you're seeing this thing breaking down worldwide. Look what's going on. And again, we forecast it. How long have I been saying that as the global economy slows down, as goes America and Europe, so goes China. As so goes China, so goes Australia, Brazil, Chile, Bolivia, and all of the other natural resource exporting countries. Hey, how about those 100,000 people that took to the streets yesterday in Brazil? It had it. Another one of my sayings, when people lose everything and have nothing left to lose, they lose it. So we're seeing a total breakdown, and my greatest fear is they're taking us to war, just as they're doing now in Syria. So here's the deal. I mean, you don't have to be a trend forecaster to figure it out.
Well, Gerald, I'm looking at Syria, and, with your experience with Iran, and, obviously, I'm looking at Syria right now, and it seems like Russia, I don't know, are they sticking by their alliance with Syria right now, or are they kind of...
Oh,
do
yeah,
you
they
think
are.
they're
There's
100%
no question.
behind them?
Yeah, if you look at the video that was posted yesterday with Putin and Obama, you know, there was no love lost between the two of them. They're not going to back down. It's not like the United States could push Russia around like they push, you know, Libya and Iraq. And this is thermonuclear Russia.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're not going anywhere. You know, and again, if people think that the same military-industrial complex and governmental sociopaths who brought us the Vietnam, Afghan, Iraq, and Libyan wars are going to, all of which ended in, you know, monumental failures and abject defeats that produce tragic results, are going to bring victory this time, they're as crazy as the people that are taking us there. Why would anyone believe that we're going to have any kind of a productive outcome with a war with Syria? Again, when you have the proof of what happened in Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq, and Libya.
I agree with you. I think it's a quagmire. I wonder how long it's going to take before we're fighting a proxy war with Syria to where it's just an open war with China and Russia.
Well, again, what's going to happen is we're forecasting it, that this is the beginning of World War III unless it ends.
Mm-hmm.
You look at what's going on in the Middle East already. You want to have a nice trip to Egypt? I mean, the place is dilapidated, falling apart, and it's up for grabs. You want to go to Yemen? Oh, have a lovely vacation there. You know, watch out for the drones. Pakistan is being ripped apart. Bahrain, yeah, it's on the edge and falling apart. And now Syria, spreading into Lebanon, and then into Israel. Again, you do not need to be a trend forecaster to figure this out, nor do you need to be a trend forecaster that can see how it's going to lead where it's going to leave us. If these madmen and mad women insist on waging war against the Syrian government, as I said, it will mark the beginning of World War III. And you don't have to be a trend forecaster or Einstein to predict how it will eventually end. Quote, I do not know how the Third World War will be fought, but I can tell you what they will use in the fourth. Rocks, said Albert Einstein. And again, you mentioned Russia. Thermonuclear Russia. We have a whole government of Dr. Strangeloves. Look at that little chicken hawk weenie over there in England, Cameron. Look at the other one over there in France, Hollande. Look what we have over here. Did you see Cheney on the news this last week talking about this guy Snowden?
Yeah, pathetic.
Marvel comic books couldn't come up with a better character than Crazy Man Cheney. These are crazy people. I mean, you want to talk about, they want to bring Snowden in as a traitor? How about bringing Cheney up for charges as a war criminal? This is the guy that led us to war against Iraq for weapons of mass destruction and ties to Al-Qaeda that didn't exist, and there's never any hearings on this.
Mm-hmm.
How about a Nuremberg trial?
You're right. Now, the thing this is the thought, and this is I'm throwing this thesis at you here. I believe clearly that, you know, the nature of the cabal is they're parasites. They pretty much have sucked us dry. They've sucked the Western Hemisphere dry. They've taken their ill-gotten gain. I'm convinced that they have already established their new headquarters in the East. I believe that with all my heart. And I'm going to tell you what I think they're doing. I think they're laying the groundwork right now for the United States to not be able to defend itself properly when this conflict comes, as well as Europe.
Don't defend. You can't defend yourself against. Again, Paul, I've been writing about this for years. I wrote about New Millennium Warfare. This will be a different war. It'll be a dirty bombs. It'll be biological warfare. You know how they say the generals are always fighting the last war? You think you're going to need those tanks, those F-35s? You know, what if a suitcase-sized nuke goes off in London? Well, boom goes London, boom Paris. You know, it's a different time. These people are out of their minds. Everything they have done financially, economically, militarily, has brought us nothing more than abject defeat and tragic failure. They're at it again. And if we let them continue it, again, I believe in what Einstein said. The next war will be fought with rocks. These people are out of their mind. Why would any intelligent person listen to Dick Cheney, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, George Bush? How about Larry Moe or Curly?
Yeah. I agree with you. And you're right, it is insanity. What I'm looking at is look at the treaties that I believe you look at the United States, look at our population. We can't win. I mean, obviously, like you said, they're always fighting the last war. But, what do we have in North Korea? What is it, 40,000 troops against the Chinese army when they decide to come down? We don't have a conventional force. And even if we did, there's no way we could stand up, to the sheer numbers of the Communist Chinese and the Russians combined. The only deterrent we had was our nuclear arsenal. Now what we've done is we basically have negotiated that away through various treaties in Europe. We've dismantled our arsenal. Russia has been growing theirs.
Well, we have plenty, God. We have so many. Again, and what is it going to bring? It'll bring a nuclear holocaust. And that's what Einstein is talking about. This is a very different war. We cannot afford war. There will be no survivors. It'll be hell on earth. And that's what people don't seem to recognize, that they're playing with real fire here in the Middle East. This thing is spreading out of control. Iran is now talking about bringing 4,000 of its elite troops into Syria to defend them. And again, I was thinking today. This morning, I was thinking, I'm getting myself ready to go to work. Everybody does, and it hit me in my head all of a sudden. I remember I was a kid, in college and high school, even grammar school, when I learned about it. The sun never sets on the British Empire. Remember that?
Yeah.
They made it sound like it was such a great thing. These imperialist SOBs going into other countries, raping them of their resources and enslaving the people, and they made it sound like such a wonderful thing.
Take on the white man's burden there, Gerald.
I mean, really. My God, the sun never sets on the British Empire. Stay home, damn it.
Well, the reality is all they did was establish central banks in every country in the world except for Iran, North Korea, and more recently Iraq, which now has a central bank.
And again, they enslaved the people. The British were among the most brutal savages that ever occupied countries. But they always, unlike us, Italians from the Bronx, they always speak properly. They always have their pinky in the air and are ready to sip some tea as what do they do? They throw, what did they do to the Indians with the
smallpox blankets
on the blankets,
Yep. Well, go back and read the Declaration of Independence.
They're brutal, and they can't get over their colonization trip, along with the damn French that are in Mali and that are also supporting this overthrow. I was reading a quote from this French minister who was on the French TV station. What's his name? Let me pull it up. Here it is. Ronald Dumas, during an interview with the French parliamentary TV network LCB, recounted that he was in Britain on other matters before the outbreak of violence in Syria. Quote, I met with top British officials who confessed to me that they were preparing something big in Syria. He continued, this was in Britain, not in America. Britain was organizing an invasion of rebels into Syria. So anybody that wants to call Roland Dumas, the former French foreign minister, a liar, call him up and find out. These are savages. The terrorists are the Americans and the British and every other country, the French that go into other countries and terrorize, invade, and occupy them. And then when somebody gets killed in America or one of these other countries, oh, these brutal terrorists, how can they do that to us after we destroyed their country, kill their people, and rape them of their resources? How dare they? And then they come up with the other line, we need more protection. So let's build our intelligence service. Yeah, I got some buddies who could do it. We'll call him Booz Allen. No, great name, Booz, yeah.
Look, we know historically that it's war that has destroyed republics in the past. Look at Rome as a classic example.
And England. Now look what it did to that country. They can't get over their trip. I mean, they went bankrupt. I mean, living in the UK after World War II was not a happy trip.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is madness. We have mad men in charge and mad women. That's the other one. I'm sick of hearing. If only the women were in charge. Oh yeah, Hillary Clinton. Check out that video of her when Gaddafi they found out he was killed. Yeah, we came, we saw he died. Ha! She cackles. Yeah.
I mean, I got to tell you, Gerald. I mean, you're nailing it. And the bottom line is that when we take a look at their real focus, I mean, we just had the FBI in these congressional hearings saying we stopped 50 terrorist events. Now, don't you think if they had stopped 50 of them, we would have read about it?
You got it. You got it, Paul. Yeah, because they brag when they set up these kids and they get them, right?
Yeah.
The other kids that they set up that they're going to blow up their underpants or something. You remember that one?
I mean, look what they did to that, what was it, the Huntery militia? Anyway, we're taking a quick break. We'll be back with Gerald, and I want him to tell you how you can subscribe to his Trenton's Journal. Believe me, my friends, it is something you want to do. We'll be right back.
There are many water filters to choose from, but there is only one system that is consistently customer rated 5 stars as the #1 system for effective filtration of fluoride, radiation, drug residues, heavy metals, a wide range of radioisotopes, and more. Introducing the Pure Effect Ultra, the next generation water filter that also raises alkaline pH, improves antioxidant potential, and has advanced anti-radiation technology, all while using no electricity. Sold worldwide, it provides virtually instant clean water on demand. It is not made in China, and the shipping is free to all 50 states. Buy your Pure Effect Ultra today by visiting pureeffectfilters.com or call 888-891-4821. Again, that's 888-891-4821 or visit pureeffectfilters.com.
Do you flinch when a police car appears in your rearview mirror or you get pulled over? Are you squeamish when an envelope arrives in the mail with the return address of a court, a government agency like the IRS, or some law firm? Would you like to escape government agency harassment? Then visit escapeharassment.com. George Bush allegedly says the government constitution is nothing but a doggone piece of paper. Well, that's a contract. A contract is an offer acceptance of that offer, at which point a contract arrives by law and the offerer can no longer withdraw the offer. We teach, do not accept. That way there is no contract or agreement for you to go to their court or private club meeting. To escape government agency harassment like the IRS, visit escapeharassment.com. This is a tried and proven experienced process, not experimental, with a money-back guarantee that it works and success testimonials from previous students. Remember, escapeharassment.com. That's escapeharassment.com.
Herbal Healer Spring Sale. 500 parts per million colloidal silver, all sizes. COQ10 with hawthorn, glucosamine chondroitin, sea cucumber, colloidal minerals, superfam and super male plaques, colon enhancer, our top-selling liquid, Cal Mag Vitamin D, MSM Sulfur Capsules, and Elderberry Power Capsules. We also offer certificate correspondence courses in natural medicine. Free memberships and free online newsletters also available at herbalhealer.com. Herbal Healer has been serving the natural medicine industry for 25 years. This is a company you can count on. Visit herbalhealer.com today. herbalhealer.com. That's herbalhealer.com.
Welcome back to the National Intel Report. Again, Paul Drockton sitting in for John Statt-Miller. My show is on after John's. And we're with Gerald Celente, as always. It's a quick hour, isn't it?
Well, thanks for having me on, Paul.
Well, Gerald, tell our listeners how they can subscribe to the Trends Journal.
TrendsJournal.com, TrendsJournal.com. And besides getting the quarterly publication, the Trends Journal, I do Trends in the News every day. You know, the real news, the truth in the news. As part of the subscription, it comes on every evening at 6:30. Mm-hmm. And also, we know that people are having a very difficult time out there financially. Matter of fact, I was just looking at some numbers, Paul. In 2007, about 1.3 million people were or something like that were making minimum wage, and now it's more than doubled. It's way beyond that. So we know people are having a very difficult time. So we have a discount request page there. And we make the Trends Journal available to everyone that we can. So if you can't afford the full price, it's only $99 a year. And that includes, of course, Monday through Friday Trends in the News features, plus the Trends Journal, which, well, you saw the last edition. It was 40 pages of, no advertising free. So, and I could say with all truth and certainty that we really do write history before it happens. So if you want to see ahead so you could plan ahead, I strongly suggest you consider the Trends Journal at TrendsJournal.com.
Gerald, let me ask you a question. I mean, I know your schedule has got to be just outrageous. I'd love to hold you over the second hour if you got time.
I have one coming in actually. I have an appointment actually at a couple of minutes after 6.
I could spend all day with you. You know that.
Well, thank you so much.
Well, thank you. And always a pleasure, Mr. Gerald Celente. And my friends, if you haven't, take a look and subscribe to the Trends Journal. Gerald, before you go, gold and silver, what do you see?
Well, again, the new Trends Journal, actually, we're going to be coming out with my mid-year economic report. I see gold and silver soft until the next round of quantitative easing and money printing. And I believe there's going to be a tapering off at some point. They're going to try to do the most they can. The interest rates are already going up. I know from a 3.5% interest rate that I bought a building with several months ago, it's now up to 4%. This is an interest rate recovery. It's a stimulus recovery. Once interest rates go up and stimulus stops, the economy is going to go into a free fall. It's, as I mentioned, what's already going on as I mentioned, when the United States doesn't buy and Europe doesn't buy, China doesn't make, and the exporting countries don't sell. And you're seeing the people taking to the streets already in Brazil and other countries. So what I'm getting to is they're going to have another round of stimulus at some point. When that point happens, then you're going to see gold hit the stratosphere, is my forecast.
So right now, buy, sell, or hold?
I don't give that kind of advice. I'm not allowed to, as I'm not a financial advisor. I think the bottom of gold is $1,200 because that's what it costs to take it out of the ground.
Gotcha. Gerald, if you're ever in Utah for any reason whatsoever, I'd love to take you out and basically buy a dinner. You got to let me know.
Well, thanks a lot. But could you get a drink in Utah?
Believe it or not, there are places where you can now get a drink. And actually, I'd buy you one, so you let me know when you come out here. All right?
Okay, Paul. I'll take you up on it.
Sounds
Bye-bye
good.
now.
My friends, that was Gerald Celente. We'll be back. And again, I'm going to go ahead and open up the phone lines. A whole lot to talk about. And feel free to call in. We'll be right back after this break.